Welcome to Pay It Forward, a podcast by JP Morgan Payments for JP Morgan Payments. Get to know our business and gain a better understanding of where we sit at the intersection of technology and finance. Did you know we move nearly $10 trillion globally each day through over 170 countries and 120 currencies at more than 5,000 transactions per second? Join us as we take you inside the stories, technology, and people that make it all happen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Davis. And in our first two episodes, we focused more on the business. Today, we're going to focus on culture. As part of culture, we'll talk a little bit about mentorship and advocacy and leadership, and what are some of those opportunities within that for growth and success. And to do that, I have joining me today my longtime colleague, Janelle Robinson, who I met, I think, almost my first day starting here at JP Morgan. So Janelle, welcome, and it's so great to have you here.
Let's get into it.
Why don't we kick things off by telling a little bit about your background and your journey here at JP Morgan? And before I forget, I would be remiss if I did not congratulate you on your recent promotion to executive director. So congratulations again. Very well deserved. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
So I've been at JP Morgan for more than 20 years. I joined in my 20s. I'm an immigrant from Guyana. So I joined almost as soon as I got to the United States. I have to tell you, one of the things that I noticed immediately upon joining is this culture of cultivating talent and people wrapping their arms around you and wanting to help you and wanting to be that lead. I started at JP Morgan in credit cards, and just by happenstance, just joining a BRG, happened to learn about a new opportunity within Treasury Services. That's where my career actually started. I had quite a few roles within the organization. And like you said, most recently, I was promoted to executive director. So it's been quite a journey. I would say one of the many things that keeps me going is my discipline and tenacity and my keenness and continuously learning something new and having various experiences. And I think JP Morgan is one of those places where you can have those experiences because we're so huge, we're so broad, it's such a vast organization. And once you put yourself out there, you can pretty much do anything. I think anyone that's been at JP Morgan for a while can attest to that, having those opportunities.
There's a lot of truth to that. I feel the same way. And I also feel like having those things built in on your own and being able to have, as you said, that tenacity and really look forward to accomplishing different things, new challenges, all of that's available here at JP Morgan, no doubt. But, one of the things that I think goes along with that is how other people help you throughout that journey. And when we talk about things like having a mentor, for example, how important is having someone to help and to mentor you through those times that you may have difficulty maybe figuring something out or maybe navigating something. And you and I, as I said, we've had a number of interactions and we've gotten very close over the years, both as mentoring each other throughout the process. Help our audience to appreciate just the importance of having a mentor and being a mentor, because we always want to be able to pay things forward, right? So talk a little bit about that from your perspective.
So can I tell you a really quick story of what propelled me to where I am today? When I first began at JP Morgan, I think it was about a year and a half after, someone invited me to a BOLD event.
Can you just help our audience to appreciate what BOLD stands for?
Yes, absolutely. So that's our Black Organization Leadership Development Program at JP Morgan, where we collaborate and interact with our Black employees at JP Morgan to ensure that we're opening up opportunities, we're having discussions about different things that are going on with JP Morgan, at JP Morgan for that matter, and ensuring that this particular group of employees are well taken care of and having a feeling of belonging.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, so I attended a bold event and met someone, and we had a conversation for probably about 15, 20 minutes, different things. So, what have I done? And, the normal networking conversation. 2 weeks later, I was called for an interview, and I'm sitting in the conference room waiting for the interviewer to enter the room. And guess who enters the room? The same person that I was speaking to at the bold event. Like, okay, this is unbelievable.
Right.
So we sort of just continued the conversation. And she said to me, okay, so here's the deal. I really like you. I like you from the first time we met. You're easy to talk to. I can see that you have great potential. But here's the thing about this job. I'm willing to offer you this job. However, it's moving to Tampa, Florida in 2 years. And in order for me to offer you this job, you have to agree to move to Tampa in 2 years. Mind you, this was like not that long after me coming to the United States, right? So I said, okay, absolutely. Challenge accepted.
You just jump right in, right?
Right in, jump right in. I've never been to Florida, but jump right in. So 2 years roll around, know how time goes by really fast. And it was time for me to move to Tampa. And I have to tell you, I was terrified. I moved to Tampa. There were hundreds of people that moved to Tampa. I was one of the people that JP Morgan kept extending my time and giving me new opportunities to learn new things, have different experiences. I tell this story because it is so important to go out there, put yourself out there, meet people, have different experiences, because you never know who you'll meet. You never know what experience you'll have and where you'll find an opportunity, really. So that's the part of speaking to someone and putting yourself out there and having a mentor and someone to be able to speak on your behalf. I think for me, it is super, super important to be able to pay it forward. So I'm always looking for those opportunities to help someone, whether it's in my day-to-day when I'm speaking to my colleagues, or I'm at an event, or I'm even in the cafeteria, just saying hello to someone, right? Introducing myself to someone new that I haven't met before or I haven't interacted with before. So yes, that relationship, mentee-mentor relationship, it's very important. And I can speak to the benefits of both sides of that equation.
I know your jaw must have dropped when this person walked in the room, but that's a real life situation, right? And those things, they do happen, right? And to your point, right, one of the benefits of being engaged, being involved, and getting outside of your comfort zone, right? Just what you do from day to day. Like you mentioned earlier, these business resource groups, right? The company has several of them. And you don't have to, let's say, be a Black person to be a part of BOLD, right?
100%.
So many people that are involved in these different affinities, they use it as a way to educate themselves about other people
Yes.
and other backgrounds and what people are going through, right? And it just helps you become an all-around person, and it makes you much more approachable, but also gives you an understanding of what are some of the other challenges that people face, right? Like that you may not know on the surface.
Exactly. And finding that community or support. Like, I know a lot of people that have transferred from different countries and found community in our BRG groups at JP Morgan. So they're all fantastic.
I fully agree and support. And it's a way, especially if you're new to the organization, maybe just coming out of college, maybe you're an analyst, you're just getting started. It's a great way to meet new people. You may even get a mentor out of it, start a mentor-mentee relationship. And it just helps you as you navigate this vast organization. It's a huge company. You don't just get it overnight.
Oh.
I remember one of the things that I was asked to do a few years ago now, and I'm actually still engaged, is to chair a program called the Black Advocacy Program. We call it BAP or BAP. And actually, you were one of the first people that opted in
Yes.
to this Black Advocacy Program. Switching a little bit in terms of gears, right? We talked a little bit about a mentor, mentee, right? Mentor is someone that can help you through certain obstacles, maybe help you navigate decisions, maybe help with career choices. And also you should be able to help the mentor as well, right? And then as you've been mentored, you might take on a role of being a mentee over time. But having an advocate is slightly different than a mentor-mentee relationship. And since you've been part of the Black Advocacy Program, I could tell everyone what it's about, but just from a person who actually was benefiting from the program itself, would love for you to give the audience a flavor of what the Black Advocacy Program was for you, what it meant. How is advocacy different from mentorship?
It's been tremendous. I'm not going to name names here, but it's been tremendous. My mentee that I've been matched with, she has been my biggest champion in the last 2 years, I would say, advocating on my behalf, speaking up on my behalf, giving me those pointers. Because look, we all have blind spots, right? And pointing out those blind spots where I may be going off on something and she's like, wait, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you considered this? And so I think we need those sounding boards, I would say, in our corner, especially in such a vast organization when you're dealing with so much. So I think it's really, really important for everyone. And it doesn't have to be something official. It could be unofficial, but I think it's really important to have that sounding board and to be able to have that one-on-one candid conversation with someone on a regular basis. Like, okay, here's how I'm thinking about this. What do you think about X or Z or Y? Why do you think I should do this as opposed to that? Or do you think I'm heading in the right direction? Is this something you can assist me with? So these conversations, while it's a mentorship program, like you said, it's a two-way street, because there are days when we came into a session and I can tell that something is wrong. I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, such and such happened. And I'm like, oh, well, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And she's like, oh, I've never thought about it. Just having those conversations, because I do believe that mentorship is definitely a two-way street. And for me, having that professional and personal at sometimes sounding board has helped tremendously.
And would you say that having that person be an advocate for you, because really the purpose of having an advocate, besides being a sounding board and being able to help with navigation, and one of the things that we expect advocates to do is to be able to open up their network to the person that they're mentoring. And not just that, but also helping with what I call the three-legged stool, right? The relationship between the person's manager, the advocate, and the individual, to help frame out a path forward, or how do we get to the next level, or what's the next best step for this person to take. That advocate should be able to represent you in the room when you're not there, right? Because the expectation is that the advocate would have means and network that could be opened up to you on your behalf that you may not have had otherwise. Did you find that to be the case with your advocate as well?
Yes, absolutely. It's funny how when my advocate had a conversation with my manager about me, and her perception after meeting me and my manager's perception, it was the exact same, and in agreement that, yes, this is who Janelle is. This is the direction I see her going. These are the things that she's doing really well. Here are the things that we're working on. And there was no disagreement, like you said. So I have very good awareness on what my blind spots are and things that I need to improve on and the things that I'm really great at. And there's no disputing that.
That's actually good.
I know what I know, and I will tell you what I don't know. And yeah, we're in agreement. I think sometimes we tend to shy away from our weaknesses. And I think the thing to do in those moments is own it, right? And say, okay, here are the steps that I'm taking to improve. So that was one of the things that I think she found it a bit surprising, that yes, we were all on the same page, and here's what my strengths are and here's what my weaknesses are and how I'm moving forward on that. And yes, speaking of opening her network to me, absolutely. There's so many people that I've met in the organization that I probably on my own would not have encountered if it had not been for my connection to her. Because like you said, JP Morgan is a huge, huge organization.
Would you say that JP Morgan is a place that is set apart from others in terms of the types of opportunities that you might have to get involved in things and really make a difference?
I think JP Morgan is absolutely a place where there's opportunities for you to get involved and make a difference. Because, like you said, first of all, we have all of these different BRGs that people can get involved in from the time of onboarding at JP Morgan as a new employee. There are all of these different business units that are constantly encouraging employees to get involved, get to know your colleagues and your teammates around you. There is this program called 10,000 Coffees, right? Where you go and you sign up and you're constantly being matched with people that are matched with you and matched with your interests. And it's a really neat way of meeting people that you would not otherwise encounter. So there are definitely a number of ways that you can get involved at JP Morgan.
Yeah, I like the 10,000 copies as well. Like I'm always getting matched up. And it's so funny how accurate the program is, right? Because it actually does really match you with people somewhere along the line, right? Like you have an interest in something or things in common, or it's just matching really well. So really good use of AI, I think.
It's spot on. Can I tell you, one time I met someone for coffee and she ended up encouraging me because she'd just come back from a hike. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't know what I'm going to do. And she's like, no, you have to do it. You have to do it. Last summer, my husband and I hiked Mocha. It was an unbelievable experience.
Really?
I got to Utah and I was like, okay, I already knew that I was hiking one day and I was going to be done with that. I hiked for the entire 5 days that we were there every single day.
Really? That is fantastic. That's awesome.
So fun.
Yes,
Yes.
you're piquing my curiosity there because I've never hiked either. I'm just a girl from Brooklyn. I have no interest in hiking. Don't even know what staying outdoor that long feels like. But that is really interesting. And you would have never
I would have never.
even thought about having that kind of an interest had you not opened yourself up to meeting other people and broadening your network. Switching gears a little bit, through all of these interactions and engagements, which are fantastic, by the way, have you received any sort of nuggets, I would say, or advice from people along the way that you thought was really spot on and you carry it with you that you'd like to share maybe?
One of the things that I would mention is an article that one of my colleagues wrote about 10 years ago or so. Lisa, on our homepage, we have different writers at JP Morgan who writes articles on our homepage, and it was about empathy. It was life-changing for me because it was not something that I'd ever thought about. Awareness, and not only awareness of self, awareness of others, awareness of the room, being able to read the room, being able to pull back for the sake of the conversation, forget about wrong or right, but just be aware. And how do we ensure that we still get out of here, even though we may disagree, but agree to disagree, and having that sense of awareness. And that was life-changing for me in the way I interact personally, professionally, and just like how I took care of myself and being aware. I met her in person, I think about a year ago, and I reminded her of that article, and she was just floored that someone even remembered that she even wrote that article and how it fundamentally changed how I move and how I operate in this environment. So that was pretty life-changing for me. And then I think one of my managers in my earlier years, she taught me discipline, how to be disciplined in everything that I do, and how to be intentional and how to move with intention. For example, thinking about a new opportunity, not just thinking about maybe I should find another job. Like, what is the next experience you want to have? What are the skills that you're missing? What do you want to learn going forward? What can you bring to this opportunity? How in another 4 or 5 years or whatever the time frame may be, this thing that you're about to start, how do you intend to leave it better than you found it? So yes, those two things, that article on empathy and how you navigate in that self-awareness and just the discipline.
Yeah, I like that. Empathy is so important. It's one of the principles that I run my life by is having empathy and working on my EQ, just being aware of your surroundings and other people in your surroundings, the impact that you have, how you make them feel. Maya Angelou said, people may not remember so much what you say, right? But they'll always remember how you made them feel at the end of the day. Like you, I've had a couple of advocates and mentors throughout my career, and I try to take something away from each of those relationships, as well as I try to leave something in each of those relationships. And had an advocate early on who is still an advocate for me. He's been my manager a few times and still is my manager even to this day. And I remember when I first went to work for him and became my advocate very quickly, like very shortly into our working relationship. And one of the things that he said to me, which stuck with me throughout my career, was that I had asked for a bigger role or to take on more responsibility. And I had to explain to him why I thought I was the person for that role and why me now, kind of like the questions you have to answer.
Yeah.
Why now? At the end of everything that I said, he said, well, I just have one piece of advice for you. You better make a name for yourself. When you're doing something, whatever it is that you do, make a name for yourself. And it was so simple,
That's great advice.
the advice, but then it just stuck with me and it made me really work hard at what I was trying to achieve, both for myself and for him. Because I had another mentor who once told me that you should always think of your job as making your manager look good as well. And so that should also motivate you. And I had another person, it wasn't a mentor-mentee relationship, but it could have been. I was doing my MBA at night and I had one time a professor that said to me, the most important thing that you should remember as you go through this journey is two things. One, always be present. Whatever you're doing, just be present as you're doing it. Be here now. We all hear that, right? Like be present, be here now. And it's something that we don't do very well, right? With all the electronic devices that we have.
100%.
We're never present for anything. But I try to stop and remember that. Be present, right? If you're giving a presentation, be present. If you're in a meeting, be present. If you're having a conversation with someone, no matter how big or small that conversation might be present. Be in the moment.
That is great advice.
People realize that and they know that, and you give more of yourself. And then bringing it back around full circle, someone said to me that there are times in life that you may not be able to change a person's attitude, right? Or how they innately feel about something, but you can change their actions based on what you do. So I kind of pieced all those things together, right? And I used those to manage my life, but it was kind of snippets of things that I've taken from people who have impacted my life along the way.
And that's the thing about this journey, right? And particularly your professional journey and being in an organization so diverse and so vast, it's JP Morgan, because you get to meet all these different people from all walks of life, right? Who bring so many different things to you and make you aware of so many different things. And someone said feedback is a gift, because think about it. The only people that truly give you feedback is whether you like it or not. And it doesn't matter how harsh it is at the time or whatever. It's actually someone that cares about you deeply, regardless of how it may come across, because someone that does not care about you, they will just let you go. It doesn't feel very good sometimes, but think about it and give it a thought. And there's always something that you can do. There's always something that you can do better. And that's part of the reason why I am still here. I remember so vividly my first day at JP Morgan. I used to have these huge paper timesheet things where everyone's start date was like on this timesheet. And I remember seeing someone's start date that said 1976. I'm like, what is the matter with you? Why are you still here? 20 years later, look at me, right?
I know.
I have had and continue to have an amazing experience at JP Morgan.
Fantastic.
But in spite of everything, the highs, the lows, and everything in between, because there's something to learn along the way every single day. And whatever it is, it's only there to make you better.
It's been so fantastic talking to you about your journey, the impact of having mentors and advocates, and also the fact that you've done that as well. You've given back in so many ways, and we thank you for that. But I would be remiss if I did not ask this one last question, and that is, tell us a fun fact about you that people wouldn't guess, that they don't know, maybe something that's not on your LinkedIn profile. What fun fact about you do you want to share with us?
I am a karaoke master.
I love it.
So anyone that thinks that they can beat me, it's on.
I love it. A fun fact about me when I'm not here spending my time at JP Morgan is that I like to DJ.
I love that.
In fact, I've been a DJ for many years. Yeah, sending records at nightclubs when I was younger. And that's my passion. It's been fantastic hearing your story, getting the insights and getting your experience. And we thank you so much for being with us here today. And to our listeners, we hope that today's conversation inspires you to explore how you can foster meaningful connections and make a difference in your own career, as well as maybe make a difference in someone else's life and in their career.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you for tuning in to Pay It Forward, a podcast by JP Morgan Payments for JP Morgan Payments. Stay up to date on the latest stories, technology, and people powering payments by subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Keep pushing boundaries, and we'll keep moving the payments world forward, one transaction at a time.